You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. Hey all, we're back for episode 5 of Cards to the Moon. My name is Clark, and with me co-hosting, as usual, is Hyung and John. So guys, right off the top, I just want to remind you that I predicted the Atlanta Hawks would go to the finals, and I believe I was laughed at when I first said that. But by the time this airs, who knows? The Hawks might be out, and especially just finding out from Hyung that Trae Young isn't playing today.
Yeah, sorry to burst your bubble there, but he's out for Game 4. But the Hawks are winning currently, so we'll see.
Yeah, and I still believe in Trae, so it doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Well, apparently I do too, because I bought in, so I'm on board with you.
Yes, change one person's mind. All right. Yeah, I wonder when the hobby is going to give Trae his proper respect. You know what I mean? So
I think it's coming. It's coming.
And quickly, any NHL predictions you guys been following? Tampa Bay versus Montreal, who I still can't believe made it to the finals.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm if there's Leafs fans listening, they'll probably hate me for this because we're all Leafs fans, but I'm kind of rooting for the Canadians.
I think we have to.
Wow.
I think we have to.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
Yeah, I don't think we're supposed to, but they're fun to watch. They're built well. Cole Caulfield. I'm a big fan of Carey Price, so I kind of want to see Carey Price win a cup, and Shea Weber. I love Shea Weber, but it's gonna be tough, man. Like Tampa Bay steamrolled them last game, so they got some work. They got some adjustments to do, but I'm secretly rooting for the Canadians.
Secret's out, but
yeah, I know.
I think I'm one of those Leafs fans, man. If the Leafs can't win it, no Canadian team. I don't want any Canadian team to win it.
There you go. Yeah,
die hard.
That's actually normal. Yeah, I'm probably the abnormal one.
All right, that's cool. All right, let's move on then to hobby headlines. And if you missed last week's episode, we talked about things in the hobby that don't make sense or use real-world logics, and we call that hobby logic. And one example, I think you brought it up, Hyung, is why certain refractors or parallels, like the waves and the shimmers, are far less valuable than the true refractors, which have the same print number. So for one reason or another, there's no love for certain things in the hobby. So this week's topic is kind of related to that idea, where we're going to explore why there's no hobby love for a certain player or certain card or certain set. And I thought we can just go around and share maybe one or two of those things, whether it's a card or anything in the hobby really, of what each of us, personally think should deserve more hobby love. And it could end up being a great early investment since, no one's really into it right now. So yeah, and any thoughts, anything that comes to your mind right away?
I'm going to move into like the hobby sets, like the Bowman Sterlings, Topps Finest, Stadium Club.
Yeah.
I think long term, like extreme value. There's a lot of extreme value there. I don't know. What about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, going back to those sets, you think, they look really nice, like the art, especially Stadium Club. We talked about this in the last episode. Do you think this just not, people just...
Well, that's the thing. It's like, what's the difference? What's the difference, right? It's like long term. I'll give you an example. Mike Trout. Look at his Topps Finest and Bowman Sterling.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, looking at it, I think it's still undervalued personally, but comparing newer sets like a Tatis Bowman Sterling or Acuna Finest or whatever it is, right? You could kind of draw the comparisons that, hey, it might be a really good long-term investment based on kind of like the hobby logic. Like I think those sets are like, you could find 2019 Topps Finest, for instance, locally at a local card store. The fact that you could still rip a hobby box is ridiculous, right? And because we chase after the flagship stuff, the typical Topps Chrome or Topps Paper, but there's so many different great sets, I think, that are long-term investments like Bowman Sterling, Bowman's Best, Topps Finest, that get absolutely no love, right? So
right. Except Bowman's platinum. That thing sucks.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's if they meant it to be like a higher end set, but yeah, it gets absolutely no love. But even Bowman Platinum,
crushed.
I seen a Vladdy refractor on that, like go for like, you know, a PSA 10 go for like $100 or something like that, or 175, and I'm like, you know, long term that's not a bad card. You know, if it's a Vladdy rookie at the end of the day, and if it's numbered, right? So I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree with you. Like some of those sets, like you just mentioned, and that's why I brought up, these can be really good early investments, because if you believe there's no good reason that the hobby hates these products, but people one day realize, or collectors one day realize that, wait a minute, this is a Vladimir Guerrero Jr. rookie card numbered to 10 or numbered to 25.
Yeah, exactly.
Then
that's my point.
The value I can see shoot up. Yeah, for sure.
It's like a Select 2, right? Like, same thing too,
Yeah.
right? Select versus Prism. And Johnny, we always talk about this, you know, there's extreme value in Select. I think there's extreme value in Select still, and a Select color, but it gets no love, right? So,
yeah, for sure. What about you, Johnny?
Yeah, this is tough, man. I don't know if what I'm about to choose is necessarily underrated, and I don't know if there's necessarily future value, but I'm going to go on the topic of hobby logic, and I'm going with 90s Upper Deck basketball.
Okay.
And I just, you know, like Upper Deck was, anyone who collected in the early 90s, Upper Deck was the shiz. Like that's what any other company was trying to mimic. And somewhere along the lines, you know, when they got in trouble with all the 89 Griffey overprinting or whatever, and they start to lose a lot of their credibility, their image starts to go down. And I think especially 90s Upper Deck basketball, it got completely crushed. Like anything 90s, I don't know, not one real high value main Upper Deck card other than maybe Shaq's draft card, where it's like, you know, the triple image of Shaq.
Triple,
yeah. That's probably the only player that has like a main rookie card in basketball that's Upper Deck. Otherwise, Upper Deck is really, you know, like it's a poster boy of the junk wax era, right? So yeah, so I don't quite say that it's underrated, and I'm not quite saying that everybody should go invest. But it's this whole hobby logic thing where everybody completely turned on Upper Deck, and I'm just wondering. I choose Upper Deck because I loved Upper Deck when we were younger. Like ripped so many
it was
packs.
the set, yeah.
Everyone went
high
after
end.
like MJ. The inserts look great, but it gets no love, man. The inserts get no love. Like the rookie cards don't get no love. Kobe rookies, like they're fairly affordable for a rookie card. So yeah, I still don't know how exactly I feel, but I'm gonna choose.
Are you saying like the hate's gone too far? Like it was part of the junk wax era, but compared to the value of other junk wax era,
I mean it's
premium.
Yeah, like
cards,
it's interesting to look at it, because when anyone who collected in the early 90s, Upper Deck was like the king. And if you couldn't afford Upper Deck, or if Upper Deck was sold out, you would buy Fleer Ultra, or you would buy Stadium Club. And if you look at it now, Stadium Club and Fleer Ultra, in terms of brand, or even in terms of desirability in vintage collecting, they've far surpassed Upper Deck. You know, like, and I think Fleer Ultra and Stadium Club are legitimate alternatives to investing. Like if you're talking about Kobe rookies, Kevin Garnett rookies, Shaq rookies, I still think Fleer Ultra, Stadium Club, of those players, is like an excellent buy. But yeah, like it's interesting to see the hobby logic where Upper Deck just took such a monster hit. And I think I truly believe it's just because what I just said, they're the poster boy of the 90s junk wax. And I'm not sure. I don't think I feel confident that it'll recover, or that there's room here to make a play, but I just chose them because number one, hobby logic, it's a fun topic. And number two, it was my personal favorite sets to go after when I was younger. So there's a lot of nostalgia when I think about Upper Deck basketball.
Okay, I can see that for sure. That's a good choice. For me, I picked something more specific, and I'll start off with the SP Authentic Future Watch on-card autograph cards, rookie cards for hockey.
Yeah.
Nice.
Other than Upper Deck, the Cup rookie cards, which is pretty much the Grail hockey cards for high-end hockey collectors. I think the SP Authentic Future Watch should get a lot more love than it is right now. And I get hockey is, not as big as basketball, baseball, or football. But, I think as we talked about before, the sport of hockey, I believe, will get more popular in the States, especially with Disney having the rights to broadcast the games.
Right.
And if you look at the card itself, each of those Future Watch cards are numbered to 999,
Right.
and the autographs are on card, and the look of the card each year is pretty much consistent. I love subsets of cards that are consistent year after year. It gives that continuity. It makes it collectible, especially for people that like to collect certain sets.
Right.
So I think there's value just in that. Like there are some collectors out there wanting to collect those cards, and yet, like, other than top tier guys, like you could get Tyler Seguin, or like those mid tier guys now, their SP Authentic Future Watch on card autos are pretty cheap,
super
still.
affordable, super
You know what I mean?
affordable.
So I will make a play. Like I think it's just one of those things I just don't get. Yeah, as as we're talking about this, I feel like this is closely related to Hobby Logic. This might be Hobby Logic Part 2 episode, right? But specifically, I was thinking of this set when I thought about talking about things that get zero hobby love,
Right.
or
Yeah.
should get a lot more.
That's a
for
good
sure.
pick, because I actually thought about SP Authentic a lot. So I stopped collecting in '97 after the Tim Duncan year, and I briefly got back into I mean, I always sort of paid attention to it, and I was watching people breaking the cup and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I briefly got back into it in '05, whenever Crosby rookie year was. And I remember the Crosby rookie year, the big set to go after was SP Authentic, with the autos numbered to 9, exactly what you're talking about. And when you look at Crosby and Ovechkin Young Guns, they go for 4K or 45K or whatever they go for. I think it might be lower than that right now. And then you look at their SP Authentic autos, like the ratio is whatever the ratio. I think it's like 5x, 10x. It's way bigger than the Young Guns. But then when you move forward 10 years, and you compare Tyler Seguin's Young Guns to his SP Authentic. You compare Patrick Kane's Young Guns to his SP Authentic autograph. Like the ratio is like 1.5x. It's barely different, right?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if
Ridiculous.
it's an interesting conversation, because I wonder if this is an actual play, like there's opportunity here, or I wonder if the reason why the Crosby and Ovechkins go for so much was because that particular year, I think a lot of people came back into the hobby, because it was, especially for hockey in Canada, it was the first year where you had generational potential prospects, 2 of them in a single set. It's like getting LeBron and Kobe in one set.
Right.
So it was like a huge time. Like I came out of the woodworks to buy hobby boxes with my buddy and I. We bought like 3 hobby boxes each of SP Authentic to try to get those like Crosby, Ovechkin autographs. And I wonder if because of that memory or the nostalgia of that chase back in the day, that's giving the push of Crosby and Ovechkin's cards to go up that much, or is it that SP Authentic is actually worth that much more, and there's an opportunity here, there's a play here to go after Matthew Barzal SP Authentic, to go after Braden Point SP Authentic. I don't know, but it's a great. I'm glad you brought that up. It's a great. It's an interesting.
SP Authentic is big time. I think, like especially early 2000s. You look at like Tiger Woods, like SP Authentics compared to his Upper Deck. Like that's the big time card, right? That's the big time play, and those on card autos are so underrated. Like. And it's such a premium set. Even the biggest thing, the drawback for Upper Deck has always been the lack of fun and parallels, So it's like SP Authentic actually has that, which is cooler. But definitely the autos I think are so underrated. I don't know the hockey market well, but for sure I think any product in that 2000 era, like that SP Authentic was really, really hot at the time, and it was a big time product.
Right.
Totally. One of my biggest regrets in the hobby is I actually bid for a SP Authentic Future Watch BGS 9.5 Alexander Ovechkin card. And this is just when I got back into it. And I bid, I think, 650.
That was too much, too.
Yeah. Like a turn back time and not think that 700 was too much.
Right.
Oh, man.
And now it's like several $1,000s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like, it's
easily.
ridiculous.
Yeah. That's so
But
funny.
that was, oh man, that was a regret. So, and I had another one. It's similar to my argument with SP Authentic. Is for basketball, the Panini Chronicles Origins on-card autograph. I mentioned it briefly in the last episode, but if you take a look at those cards, same thing, clean design, on-card autos. The base of that autograph set is numbered to 99, and there are some parallels that are numbered to 49, and I think 25 even for some of those players. But it's so affordable compared to other autograph cards in basketball. Like even I've seen even sticker auto cards of different sets go for a lot more than the Panini Chronicles Origins on-card autos. And I don't get that either. But same thing. Like if you like a player, look for the Panini Chronicles Origins set. And yeah, it's I think it's a good buy. I have a Trae Young. Speaking of Trae Young, I have one of his Panini Chronicles Origins on-card auto numbered to 99. It's pretty sweet.
Nice.
It's out to BGS, and hopefully I get a good grade, but we'll see how it goes. I'm worried about one corner, but we'll see. Hence why I submitted to BGS. But
sweet.
Yeah. Any other cards that you could think of that should deserve more hobby love?
Oh man, I not on the top of my head, but I'm sure there's so many out there. And at the end of the day, it's like we're talking here in 2021, right? It's like right now we're using our logic here, but that's why it's like 10 years from now, we'd be looking back and saying, remember that time we passed up on, whatever it is, that Bowman Sterling or Bowman Platinum for you, Johnny, that Vlad Guerrero, that, and then we laugh because we see the prices 10 years from now and we realize it's the same thing that happened with Trout. Like no one was on Bowman Sterling Trout, the 2011, his rookie card. And now it's like, still a hot commodity, right? Anything Trout really at this point. So yeah, like I said, there's a lot of I think opportunity, like you said, Clark, with like the SP Authentic autos in the hockey and whatnot, and there's a bunch, so take advantage while you can. Don't think you're stupid because you're not buying.
Well, when you talk about like taking advantage or like seizing an opportunity, like you've mentioned this to me so many times, like chasing a particular color, doesn't matter the set, but if you chase like a popular color, for example, the all-time classic color in any kind of refractor is gold, right? So whether it's Bowman Sterling or Bowman Platinum or Topps Finest, like don't underestimate the value of that gold number to 50 or whatever it's number to in the future, right? Like the Louis Robert, for example, Topps Finest gold, you could probably buy it right now for like under 200. And people are sleeping on it. People are not going to wink at it. But in the future, like look at anything Trout gold. Doesn't matter what what set.
For sure, absolutely.
It could be upper deck gold. If it existed, but it would sell for so much.
Anything numbered, really. Right.
True. Yeah. But even when numbers like a black or a gold, like some of the popular colors, right?
Yeah. This is what happens. Like right now, everybody's trying to make that flip. So you see those cards kind of surface, right? But as years go by and hobby boxes become so ridiculously expensive, no one's ripping. The pop count is what it is, right? And people end up locking some cards in the safe that end up kind of like not resurfacing, right? So as years go by, like I said, a numbered LeBron James nowadays is insane, right? Yeah. Like if we are back in 2003, there would be a lot more numbered cards of LeBron available because people are not thinking of the long term. They're just trying to make that, I made that $1,000 flip or $2,000 flip, right? So I think long term, that's why I always say, like the golds are the golds. Like you bought that Tatis Bowman Sterling. I think that was a great purchase. It's a gold numbered to 50, and it's now you have it. It's not like you're going to sell it. You're locking it in the safe. There are 49 left now, right? So it's like as that time goes goes on, and generational talent does generational things, that's where the fun, I think, starts kicking. And that's where I like to kind of keep our focus on, because I think that's where you'll win out and you'll enjoy yourself the most, because you're going to be rooting for the player that whole time, and you have a lot of stake in that player, right? So
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, totally agree. And to your earlier point, Hyung, when you mentioned that down the line you'll see those opportunities come to fruition, or you'll see the benefits of going after some of the things that don't make sense now come to fruition in the future. Like, I mean, we're talking about that now from the things that we, should have invested in 3 years ago, even.
Right. Yeah. No. I. Yeah. 100%. I agree.
Well, we should have trusted our gut back then. So.
Yeah.
You learn for sure. All right. So just moving on, I wanted to introduce this new segment today, especially after what we talked about with cards that deserve more hobby love, and it's called Dead Wrong. All right. As much as we like to be right about everything, sometimes, our predictions just don't pan out. And I think we're more right than we are wrong. But at the end of the day, the market is always right. So in the interest of full transparency, and just to remind others that when collecting as an investment, there's always some level of risk involved, I thought we can tell our listeners just one of our dead wrong predictions or dead wrong moves that we've made in the hobby. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. Other than me selling, I guess the opposite, selling cards too early, thinking that prices will go up. I did that with Tatis, and I totally regret it. But we'll go the other way, and I would say I wouldn't say I'm dead wrong, because I still believe in the kid, but I would say Tyler Hero for me. He's a guy that I got emotionally attached to because I've been following it. You kind of follow him, his journey, high school through Kentucky, and then you kind of follow his journey with all the haters, and then he finally makes the playoffs, and you're like, yes, and he shows up in his first year, and that's when I held through the whole time, and I kept on adding to the collection because I truly believed in him. And then he goes and does some questionable stuff, it's like, what are you doing? But I mean, I think his make or break is still next year and the year after.
Absolutely.
And we'll see, but as of right now, Hero's prices have tanked, and and it's definitely not a sell at this point, because I think you'll just kind of like, I'm not giving up on the player himself.
Sure.
But yeah, that's probably one area I thought, I was going to see a little more success from Tyler Hero, but then I realized, what, he's a 20-year-old kid, and prices are inflated for him, and to be honest, to have it sustainable to where it was is not realistic. So that's one of my guys that I would say that I kind of am holding the bag a bit.
I think the lesson there is, and I'm sure we've all experienced something like that, is that when you recognize card values spiking, and then you know in your head that it's probably not sustainable, it might be a good time to sell some of those cards and then reinvest it, and then you can always jump back in later too, right? Like,
right.
Sometimes we always think that every card we love and cherish will go to the moon, but that's not always the case.
Exactly.
Definitely a good lesson I've learned personally as well.
Yeah.
How about you, Johnny?
For myself, like I've mentioned on this podcast, like I got back into this about, I want to say about 18 months ago now. So everything that I have, I wouldn't say anything, everyone's kind of got the Keston Hiuras and of the world,
Right.
where some of my cards that I've collected since I got back into it still have an opportunity. It's not like a complete failure. So I don't really, I'm gonna switch this up, and I'm gonna, like I always do, like an idiot, I'm gonna change up the rules a bit, but I'm gonna go with like a future dead wrong for myself. So for myself, I know everybody's kind of, the hype is simmered a bit, but I am not, and I've never been on the Zion train. I don't own any of his cards. When he was coming into the league, we all saw his highlights from when he was in high school and when he was at Duke. Even amongst my friends as we chatted, like I was always the one to say, like, I'm taking Ja Morant number 1 over Zion. You know, I can understand from a business standpoint, New Orleans, they got to make money, they got to sell jerseys. 100% makes sense for them. But I was personally picking Ja, and I just like we're old enough now to have seen players like Zion, right? The OG is like, you know, Dominique Wilkins. We've got like Sean Kemp, Vince Carter.
Sean Kemp's a good one, yeah.
Yeah.
Blake Griffin. Like these are like, you know, freak of nature athletes that are just highlight reel packages when they're young kids because they can just jump through the roof and just dunk on anybody. Right. But these kind of players, they don't necessarily win championships. They're not necessarily the guys that you would give the ball to in the last 30 seconds. Like that's what people want to see. And hence that's why, you know, like somebody like Giannis is kind of taking a bit of a hit in terms of his like reputation. But yeah, like I'm not on Zion. I still think there's opportunity as an investment, but I think a player like Zion has a shelf life. So there comes a caution with a player like that. That's me. So this is going to be like my dead wrong prediction. I could be completely wrong, and Zion could go on and win like 4 championships and like become like one of the top 10 players all time. And I'm sitting here going, oh my goodness, I should have like loaded up on Prisms, but you know, for the next little, I don't think I'll ever be buying any Zion. So that's going to be my future dead wrong prediction.
No, that's an interesting take, and all those reasons you mentioned are legit. We'll see how that pans out.
Yeah, I had a hockey dead wrong, but I just switched up last minute. I was like, it's kind of boring to talk about this one, so I switched it to Zion.
Okay, fair enough. Mine is, well, first, I'm not going to talk about like all the cards I invested early on when I got back into the hobby, like prospecting, pure prospecting. There's obviously high room for error, and I think I mentioned a couple last time, like Manuel Margot. I thought he would be the next Mookie Betts. You know what I mean? And I'm like, nope, that didn't happen. And Gregory Polanco didn't happen. But actually, my example is Mookie Betts, and I think I shared this with you guys offline before. But I bought a Bowman Chrome, autograph rookie base, BGS 9.5 for $35 when I got back into the hobby.
Oh my gosh.
Cheap. And as soon as it doubled, $70, I sold.
You paper-handed.
You know what I mean?
You paper-handed so bad
100%.
there.
And it hurt me to do this earlier today. I wanted to see what the value of it was worth now. And I think the last one sold for $1,900 US.
Oh,
brutal.
Nice.
So brutal. So that's, like selling too early. And we talked about this. Like, that's one of those things where, if you believe the talent, you got to be careful about selling too early.
But on the flip side, we always say profit is profit, right? So what did you do
100%.
with your $35? That's the question.
I think I bought Manuel Margot.
Nice.
Refractor, all right? I upped the game. I doubled down on Manuel Margot with the refractor number to $4.99. Sometimes you got
Hey Clark,
sometimes you got to take risks.
that reminded me, like this right before, remember COVID? I think it was like a year ago in March, spring training hype, and I got a little worried with Tatis. This is the story I was kind of telling you, and I was like, I had bought that following, it was November 2019. I bought an Orange Wave Raw Tatis, and I think I won the bid at like $340 US. An Orange Wave. I sent it to PSA, and it ended up PSA 10ing, right? And at that time it was like Pop 3, and March comes around, and this is before the COVID season, and I get a little worried because people are talking about, the economy is going to shut down, like what's going to happen, and then apparently this deadly virus is roaming around and stuff, and I ended up selling that Orange Wave for $1,300, and I was happy. I was laughing. I was like, I did well, you 3 or 4x your money, and then it ended up last year. My copy actually, I think, ended up selling for like $15K, right? So that one hurt a bit, and that same month, Clark, I sold a Topps Chrome Fernando Tatis green auto to number 99, a BGS 1010. And
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
so I bought that raw for $400 that same time, and then it ended up pristining at BGS, and I ended up selling it for
Crazy.
like $950. So
Oh,
yeah, you know
jeez.
what? Profit is profit, and
Yeah, for sure. Like
But
you
it
said,
hurt.
it all what yeah.
You turned that money to Tiger Woods gold, man.
yeah, exactly.
It's what you do with the
That's what I
profits.
probably did. I ended up buying a boatload of Tiger Woods with that profit. So I ended up
Yeah.
doing well, even though Tiger Woods kind of prices came down. But I went through the cycle of, when Tiger Woods was dirt cheap, nobody was on him, and then
Sure.
the market absolutely exploded at one point.
Yeah.
And I rode that wave, so I ended up doing well overall. But yeah, that story that you said with the Mookie reminded me of my Tatis, and that's why I hold all my numbered cards now. I wish I had
Yeah.
those cards back, but I still have a nice stash of Tatis sitting in the safe, and they're not going anywhere for the next 5, 10, 15 years. So learn your lesson.
Yeah, that's another good lesson learned. And I think, you know what, like that reminds me of what we talked about in episode 1, whether we thought the sports market was undergoing an implosion or whether it was a strong market correction. And time and time again over the past 3-4 years especially, we've been a lot of people have been dead wrong about the state of the sports card market, how strong and robust
Nobody
it actually
knows,
is, right?
Nobody knows.
Yeah,
Yeah, so lessons to be learned in the hobby while you're in it.
for sure.
All right. I think this could be a reoccurring segment. There's always going to be plays where we don't get it right, but it's good to be transparent, and
Yeah.
we'll try to revisit it every once in a
Yeah,
while.
check back with me in about a year. I'll have some major losses.
Hopefully not too major, but we'll
Yeah.
we'll follow up. All right. Our last segment of this podcast episode is Fast Five. And we've done this a couple times already, but just to remind our listeners what Fast Five is all about, what we're going to do is choose 5 players, and we're each going to say whether we're going to buy, sell, or hold any of these guys based on what they're doing now, on how you perceive their card value at this current moment. All right. So the first one I had for this week is Justin Herbert, LA Chargers quarterback, won Rookie of the Year. And if you look at his prices right now, with football season just around the corner, it's spiking already. Like Herbert is the main guy to grab, But yeah, your thoughts. Are you buying, selling, or holding on Herbert?
I think I am buying. I still think that there's room to grow because we're in the infancy stages of football season still. I know we're still a couple months away, but yeah, I mean, his prices aren't that expensive, so I think there's still a lot of room to grow. But I would say buy with caution because it is volatile, and you're gonna probably, if he doesn't perform, you're most likely gonna be holding the bags. But I expect Justin Herbert to perform, so he's an exciting player to watch, and he's been turning heads. So for me, I'm a buy, and enjoy the football season when you do buy. So yeah. And his XRC is sweet, so that's the card.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think has tremendous value in the future. So I think when I say buy, I'm not talking bases. I'm off base. I still think like we talked about, Select has extreme value there, and then his XRC and stuff like that. But yeah, sorry, and his numbered cards I think are good value compared to his base. So I'm a buy at that. Sorry to cut you off.
No problem. I'm complete opposite. I'm sell all the way, and I say this with a grain of salt because I used to be big into football back in the day, but not so much anymore. So I can't say with confidence I am a football prospector. But just based on what I talked about in a couple of previous podcasts about LaMelo, I'm just not a buyer during the first year hype. And what better the hype between LaMelo and Justin Herbert than to win Rookie of the Year and to look like the stud that everybody was prospecting you to be? It's just like the perfect time. I think it's a sell all the way. If you believe in Justin Herbert, I think there's going to be opportunities to get back in. But for this coming year, 100% sell all the way. But I do agree with what Hyung says. If you're in the bigger market for some of the more expensive Herberts, where like whatever vinyl number to 5, color blast, some of these crazier cards. These are cards that, you know, after a couple of seasons, you won't see them on the market at all ever again. So there are times, even during a down or up market, you have to take advantage of those buys if you're in that market. So in that sense, I agree with Hyung, but overall, Justin Herbert, I'm definitely a sell.
I can see both sides, but for me, I'm going to side with Johnny too. Like quarterbacks, football players in general, the level of injury risk is, you know, pretty high compared to other sports, I believe. And in football, like, yeah, for sure, I like the idea that he's a quarterback. Like, I don't invest in anything other than quarterbacks, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
But the only quarterbacks I believe in 100% right now are Tom Brady, that are playing right now, are Tom Brady, which I can't afford, and Patrick Mahomes, which I can't afford. So I'm not investing in any football quarterbacks.
There you have it. It's the only affordable option at this point.
Yeah. I guess so. I like Joe Burrow, but because he's coming off an injury.
Herbert over Burrow any day. Yeah.
Sure, but I think the value is in Burrow. But anyway, but yeah, I like Herbert. I think he definitely has obvious potential to take the next step, but in terms of what I've been seeing in terms of prices, it's just, to me, a little bit high risk. And I rather, if I had a card, if I pulled it out of a pack, like we were saying earlier, I'd rather take those profits and then reinvest in something else that I'm more assured of. You know what I mean? So I think that's my play. Sell on Herbert. Okay, second guy. And I chose this guy because we have friends that invested heavily in this dude. Keston Hiura. Hiura of the Milwaukee Brewers. You know, there was high hopes. He had a pretty good rookie year, and you know, we saw what he did earlier this year. Just couldn't hit anything, and he just came back, and now he's hitting a home run every other game. So, like, I guess the question is, which Hiura do we believe in? Like, is he back, or are we just going to be cautious?
For me, I'm cautious. I went through my Hiura kind of phase. I actually really like him as a baseball player. I've been following him ever since he's been in college in California, and he's a great baseball player. But for me, it's a sell. I've been on him, you know, in 2019 when he had a great season, and his prices were actually really like, they're pretty decent. Like I made some decent money off flips with Keston. And I kind of got out before he kind of fell off the rails the last 2 seasons. And part of it is, for me, defensively he's out of a position, right? It's like he's a barely serviceable second baseman, and basically got bumped to first base, which I personally think, like, is the biggest mental blow for you as a baseball player, because everything is confidence. Remember, like, you know, it's like, hey, you played second base all your life, but now you're gonna move to first base and just, you know, catch the baseballs, just catch the baseballs, right? And then from there, the expectation of a first baseman, if you're playing a corner position in the infield in the big leagues, your expectation is 30 plus home runs, right, in the corner. Sure. So, like, for me, that's not, I believe in his hitting ability. Like, this guy can hit some bombs. Like, I think he on 162 game average, he'll hit between 30 and 35 home runs, which is incredible for a guy that's 5'10", 180. You know, is generating some massive torque there. But yeah, for me, he's a sell, just because I already made profit off of him, and I don't see me making any more profit off of him. I still have a little bit of Keston, and it's not even worth selling at this point, because you know, you're paying for the cost of grading essentially and getting the card for free. Sometimes you're making money, so at that point, yeah, he's a don't sell or buy, I guess. Or hold.
Yeah. Like, I mean, of everything that I've bought since I got back into it, I think Hiura, and I mentioned this briefly, but Hiura is the one that has lost me the most money, just because I bought a lot of his stuff when it was a lot higher, and now it's literally worth the cost of grading. But with that being said, I'm gonna say buy, and I'm not saying this because necessarily I think Hiura is gonna come back and he's gonna be the player that everyone thought he's gonna be. I think a lot of people have given up on him, which is fair. I think there's still a lot of people that believe in him, but I'm saying buy because I just took a look at his Sapphire, And the last couple sold. I mean, there's one that sold for $79.
That's not bad.
Exactly. So if you're, I'm just saying buy, because if you're in that market, because there's not a lot of like cards that, if some people, my budget is $100 maximum for a card, like you're not really playing with much. So if you're in if you're in that space, to buy a pretty decent prospect, albeit, he's got 1 foot out of the majors, 1 foot in. But if you really want to roll the dice here for $79 US on a Sapphire rookie PSA 10, like that could be, doesn't hurt your pockets if it goes to zero. And if Hiura comes back and he stays in the majors and he ends up carving a pretty good career, or even getting hot from here to the rest of the season, or gets hot next season, like that's a card that'll easily pump back up to 300 US, 350 US. You can 3-4x that easily, right? So for that reason, I'm going to say buy.
That Sapphire is his best card, Johnny. I agree.
Yeah.
That's 100% his best rookie card is the Sapphire. It's a unique image. It's such a cool looking card. Yeah, but I agree. Yeah, $79 for a PSA 10 is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean,
so cheap.
I bought that thing for $330.
So you might want to edit that one out, Clark, or add it to that segment of.
Yeah, this is dead wrong part 2.
Buy high, sell low.
Yeah.
So Johnny's holding.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Like Keston Sapphire for that price, pretty sweet. But I think it's a trap. I think.
Yeah. That's fair too.
I still think it's a trap. Too. Yeah. So I think even when the Brewers started the season, and they're doing well right now as a team, but it was largely without Keston, and maybe he'll help down the stretch. But if I have Keston and, the way he's swinging now, which he's on a good streak, if there's an uptick, I'm taking the opportunity to sell. Like too many ups and downs for me with Keston. And, I agree with what you said, Hyung. Like, you got to account for the mental aspect of the game. And I think, every player goes through streaks, and who knows the next bad streak, which Keston will definitely go on, like any other player, how he'll handle that. Right. Like, he's one of those extreme players, I think, where he either can hit bombs, every other game, or he's going for 0 for 30, 0 for 40, at those stretches. And good luck trying to sell during those low points. It's, to get it back up to a certain level where you think you can get your money back. It's harder to do that every time he goes through that kind of bad streak. So sell for me on Keston. Next guy, Pete Alonso. Like, I was actually eyeing this guy before the season started. With Lindor coming to the Mets, I think Mets were going to be a good team. And then this COVID year is like so many injuries, like ridiculous amount of injuries, and that's impacted how teams played together as a team. And I feel like Alonso, I don't know, has been quietly putting on a good season. Like, it's just the Mets in general, like, have been relatively quiet. I think they should have a better record than they do have now, if it weren't for some of the injuries. But, like, home run derby's coming in the All-Star. He's going to try to go back-to-back, and that could add value. I don't know. But Pete Alonso playing for the Mets, a home run hitter. Generally you like home run hitters. What are you guys doing with him?
I like Pete Alonso as a player. I think he's exactly what kind of like the game needs, in terms of his likability, his personality, his character in the clubhouse. Just good for the game. And I think Topps kind of like tried to really push that after his big rookie season, after he hit like 51 home runs, and he was on the cover of every single box at that point. But like I said, after that rookie season, it's that second year where, you get tested. And I know it was a shortened season, but, a lot more advanced scouting report with technology, understanding, players' inconsistencies and exposing basically their weaknesses, right? So I think Pete Alonso is going to have a successful career in the big leagues, but he's a 250, 260 hitter. The home run production, in my opinion, is not sustainable at 51. I think he's like a 30 home run hitter, which will land him a good career, but I don't see him, I guess, advancing. So I'm a sell at this point. And maybe, ride the wave of stuff like the home run derby. But overall, like I've owned a lot of Pete Alonso cards as well. So I've seen the ups and downs of him too, and all I'm saying is, you know what? There's opportunity because his cards are cheap. His cards did take a hit, but he's gonna have to do some spectacular stuff again for it to move the way you would think stats would move it. Otherwise, he's a guy that you're just gonna roll the dice and lock in the safe, and if you have any higher end stuff and see what he does. But at this point in time, I'm a sell.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm nodding my head. I'm 100% in agreement with Hyung on this one. I have it written down as a sell. I just think Pete Alonso is just for all the reasons that Hyung mentioned, he's just way too one-dimensional for us to see a good opportunity for his cards to really uptick, because it's really for him. So far, it's just the home runs, right? That's all that really drives his value. So unless he's crushing 50 a year, I just don't see his cards ever coming back up to anywhere near some of the big dogs. So for that reason, I just don't. His cards are so cheap that it's almost tough to say sell. But I feel like even at the cheapest points, you could take that money and put it into something that has opportunities to multiply a lot quicker than Pete Alonso, because I'm not sure if I see the card multiplying at all, unless he does the unthinkable and just starts going off and winning triple crowns and stuff. I don't see it, so I'm a sell.
Yeah, no, I can see both your points. I'm going the other way. It's a buy for me, and I think you mentioned it, Johnny. I think it's at a value right now where it's cheap, and I like guys that have done it before. Obviously in his rookie season was spectacular, and whether he can do it again is a big question mark. But I'm gonna put Judge in the same category. Aaron Judge in the same category.
Very similar.
Guys that have done it before, had a down second year or third year because pitchers adjusted, but now showing life again that they could adjust. It's a cat and mouse game, right? You kind of learn from previous years and how you anticipate how pitchers are going to pitch you.
Exactly.
And I think, Alonso is showing that he can adjust. And I think there's potential for me as a short-term flip, whether, it's a good time to buy now because it's cheap, but I could see another 40 home run season in him. And, concerning the batting average, we said this before, he's batting 267 this year, which is essentially 300 in previous seasons, where batting average is on average a lot lower because everyone's trying to hit the home run, right? But 267 for me is a pretty decent average in today's league. And so I think there's definitely potential for his card to see at least a few multiple spikes throughout the year, throughout his career, especially over the next 2 or 3 years. I see that. So, and I like that he plays in New York. So that's another tiebreaker type factor for me, playing for a big market team. So buy Topps Chrome, especially. That's value right there. All right. We're going to go to basketball now. And I picked Giannis. How do you say his last name? I still don't know how. Giannis.
Yeah.
I think it's
Antetokounmpo.
Okay.
Antetokounmpo.
I won't even attempt to say it. So Giannis. Yeah, Giannis rookie cards. What do you guys think? Obviously the Bucks are, as of this taping, are still in the playoffs, and this could be the year.
Could be the year.
But there's been there's criticism lately as well of whether he's actually the go-to playoff guy, if he has those instincts. But is he just one of those guys that we lump into a great regular season player, but not the greatest playoff player, and will that impact his value in the future? I don't know.
I'm a buy. It's tough because his prices are not cheap, but Giannis is the type of player for me that is the generational talent type player, and I believe that he's running deep into playoffs. As I think this is his fifth or sixth playoff. And I don't know how old is he. Maybe anybody know? 26, 25, 26. I don't know, but he's still young. Is my whole point, right? And he's been playing in the league he's a veteran now, and I just see where obviously the leaders of the pack, LeBron's prices end up going, and the potential it is there, right? So I think there's extreme opportunity in Giannis, even though his prices are still high. I think his Prism base went down to like 1,200, and they're as high as like $3,000 or $3,500 at one point. And I know I shouldn't compare him to LeBron, but you see the dip in LeBron's Topps Chrome, and now a dip is under 10K, right? And that's considered a dip, right? So for me, at under 2,000 for a Prism, I think there's still room to grow. But again, and this is the difference too. You're not talking about a Prism that's pop 10,000 to pop 15,000. You're talking about a Prism that's pop 2,500, and and first year, right? I believe 2012 would have been first year of Prism.
It was, but I think he was in another year.
Oh, was he's not? He's not first year.
He was 2013. Oh yeah, 2013.
First year is like the
yeah.
Kawhi.
So, but that's what I'm saying. Kawhi was 2012 and 2013. That was when they weren't printing tens of thousands like they do Luka, right? So, if he's that type of player, I like the game on the supply demand ratio for the pop report on Giannis. So I'm a buy.
Yeah, I'm gonna go the other way again. For Giannis, I'm a sell actually, and in basketball, what we've seen out of Giannis, like you mentioned in your opening remarks, Clark, I think we are now seeing who Giannis is and what kind of player he is, and he's clearly showing that he is not the type of player you give the ball to with 10 seconds left to win the game. He's not that type of player. Is he still a freak? Is he still a monster? Is he still like a wonder of nature in terms of like a specimen of a human being? Absolutely. He's a freak of nature. But generally, basketball fans, enthusiasts, collectors, they like to see that, like the quote unquote killer instinct. They want to see the MJs, they want to see the Kobes. That's why people get attracted to like Steph Curry, they get attracted to Kawhi Leonard, they get, the latest guys like Luka, Dame Lillard, guys that you give the ball to with 30 seconds left and they just take over the game and win the game for their teams. And Giannis has now had enough seasons, enough playoff runs to show that he doesn't look like he's that guy. And I think a lot of people are starting to jump off that original hype train where Giannis was like this, he's going to make the playoffs and he's going to do whatever the heck he wants. He's going to spin move and dunk like 100 times on people. He's going to literally have his way. And it's clearly showing that that's not the case. Can he still win championships? Absolutely. Could he win? He could win it this year. And his card's probably going to spike a bit. But overall, I think for all of those reasons, I'm going to say a sell. And he could, this guy's he could end up being an all-time legend. But guys like Giannis, who are complementary players that become all-time legends, like I'm talking about, sorry, I'm not gonna say complementary, but guys that they're not like Kobe, they're not like MJ, they're not the give the ball to the last like Tim Duncan, Shaq, like these types of players. Like long term, I think Giannis, if you're to hold his cards for the next 15 years, absolutely, I think he's gonna become an all-time legend. But right now, in the next 5 years, I'm definitely a sell.
Fair enough. I was just about to roast you for calling him a complimentary player.
wrong wording.
He's a key guy, but I think when you're sharing, like people are jumping off the hype train. Honestly, I hope more people jump off the hype train because I'm buying all the way. Like I think Giannis is. I feel like when we look at his career, by the time he retires, we'll see that he was an amazing basketball player. And even if he doesn't win a championship, I hope he does, but even if he doesn't, I think who I compare him to is like Charles Barkley, who's never won, but you can't argue that Charles Barkley had a legendary career. And his value of his rookie cards, if you look at the iconic Fleer set, like, it's hard to get one at a decent price because it keeps on going up every year, right? Right. I think Giannis the same thing. And, there's more to choose from for Giannis. So as a collector, you could go with NBA hoops, and there's plenty of parallels there that are pretty affordable. I've been eyeing like an NBA hoops gold. It's paper, but it's under 2,000. I think that's a pretty decent buy, and I think that'll be a good investment. And of course the Prism ones, right? But yeah, Giannis for me is a buy. I think we'll look at the breadth of his career, and it'll be worth the future value of his card. All right, and lastly, for the similar reasons, I chose Paul George as a guy who has a reputation for not performing in the playoffs. And Clippers are still in it, right? And now with Kawhi gone, he's had a couple of decent games.
Yeah,
more than decent games where he's
had a
stepped up,
couple
right?
down games.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's that one game where he just missed his free throw, so it kind of,
Pandemic
took away all that. So Paul George, like, you can't argue against his talent either, but is he a buy, sell, or hold for you guys?
For me, he's a buy too. I think he's an all-star. I mean, he's a superstar, and when you look back at his career, he's gonna put up ridiculous numbers, and you look back and see the available cards that he has. It's not many. There's not many to choose from, especially that this is pre-Prism, so it's like Topps Chrome didn't touch any of that. So what are your options, right? So I look at prices like an RPA of Paul George, and like you're talking RPA National Treasure, like for 3,500, I think a 9.5 sold for, and to me that's like really cheap. Comparing him to other players. So I think he doesn't have a lot of cards available. Yeah. And for the prices that are selling, like I said, 2012, I guess, would be his first Prism, and they're like a couple $100 with a pop of 150, and then before that, you're looking at, all these off-brand cards of kind of like not popular sets, right? So to me, I think he's a unique situation where I think the supply and demand is going to kick in big time after kind of his career kind of unfolds, right? So I'm a buy right now. His prices are way too cheap for his talent.
Yeah,
good point.
I agree. He came in at that. I think he's 2010. It's like an awkward period where I think Panini took over the licensing, so there's no Chrome. And they hadn't made a Chrome version, so they hadn't got into the Prisms and Selects yet. So I think in terms of like paper base, there's only Donruss and like Panini Prestige and maybe a handful of other.
That Donruss card is cool.
Yeah, even there's probably a handful of other lesser cards, and then you're obviously gonna get into the RPAs, right? So with that being said, though, I'm gonna actually say hold, and the only reason I say that is because he's still in the playoffs, right? And I think I personally believe he's and I'm sure most people do, but I think he's gonna get knocked out by the Suns. We'll see what happens, because the 0-2 down 0-2 Clippers are the ones that end up crushing everybody. But I'm gonna say hold right now, because I think his prices are probably holding pretty well, if not bumping up a little bit for the time being. I would rather wait till he gets knocked out. And then buy in the off season. I think it's going to come back down pretty low. Paul George overall, I've always loved Paul George. We all rag on him, call him Pandemic P and laugh at him and stuff. But watching this dude just single-handedly tear apart the Raptors back in the day, I knew, man, this guy is a bucket and a half. Like, this guy can score at will. So I personally love Paul George. I think there's going to be a great time to buy this offseason. But right now, specifically, as we talk about, heading into Game 6, I'm going to say hold for the time being.
I don't know. I think I struggled with this one the most out of the 5 today, but I'm going to sell. I think, but it's a really good point about the supply of his rookie cards. Like, if, as an investment, that's definitely something to consider. But for me, I'm just thinking of him as a player, and for the arguments I made for Giannis, when I compare Paul George to Giannis, I feel like Paul George needs to win a championship for his value to increase significantly. Like, to play for the Clippers, which is a superstar team, and I know Kawhi's injured now, but he had the chance last year. I think there's an expectation you got to win. If you went to the Clippers for that reason, to make your path to the championship that much easier, and you don't play up to those expectations, I don't know. Like, and compared to Giannis, say what you want about Drew Holiday and all those supporting characters, but I feel like there's no one on that level. You don't have two superstars, in my opinion, on the Bucks. You know what I mean? And Giannis is still carrying the team to the playoffs, and you can argue what he's doing in the playoffs, but that's why I think he can get away with not winning a championship, and you can look at the breadth of his career. So, and I don't know. I think Paul George is just a I might get slack for this, but I just think he's a boring player.
He's vanilla.
Maybe nowadays, like
Vanilla ice
he's
cream.
just- vanilla, exactly. Yeah, he's just kind of, I don't know. Other than those 2 playoff games recently, but
Right.
I like Paul George.
But I like Paul George too. Paul
I
George,
like Paul George.
because he's at, you know what? To be honest, though, because he's in such a unique position, and Hyung mentioned this, I think even more than his rookie cards, because the Donruss is decent. I like it.
Yeah.
The Prestige looks. I hated those old school Prestiges.
Yeah.
They look awful. They just look like such a cheap card. And I don't know what else there is of Paul George. I don't think there's not much else. So I think George is in a unique position. If he ends up carving out, possibly maybe he wins it this year. I don't know, but if he ends up carving out a pretty, like a Hall of Fame career, which he could, he's close to on that path. Like kind of other than winning championships, I kind of imagine him kind of similar to like the Paul Pierces, Pierces of the world, sort of like on that level. Yeah. So he's in a unique position where I think there's opportunities to buy things like first year 2012 Prism, 2015 Prism Golds, like just random stuff, because there's nothing sexy about his rookie year, right? So even though it is a rookie card, other than RPAs, there's really not much you're not going to lose, go crazy about that Donruss card just because it's a rookie card, right? So he's in a unique position where other supporting cards in other years might have better potential than the rookie card. I'm just, like Hyung kind of pointed that out. I think it's a great point.
Yeah. No, for sure.
But
all right, guys.
But hang on, to your point, don't sleep on Chris Middleton, man. People are like, like in terms of superstars, this guy, I know, like when you watch him, I'm sure he doesn't have the sexiness. He's not exactly like a good looking guy. But don't sleep, man. I think his 2012 Prism, I don't know about it anymore. I'm sure it's popped up a bit after his last couple of performances.
Oh, he's in the 2012 year, eh?
He is, and that card.
Okay.
As of like a couple of weeks ago, I'm sure it's more than this now, but I think it was like under 150 US.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's could be a decent buy, and they could win it this year. So you might, people may have missed the boat, but don't sleep on Chris Middleton. That guy's a player.
All right. Listen to Johnny. Okay. All right, guys. I think we'll wrap up this week's episode. It was fun. I was thinking maybe next episode, how we've done the pick one segment, instead of me thinking of all 3 pairs, we'll maybe we each can select a pair and then we'll see which one we pick.
I like it.
Man.
Sound all right?
Yep, I like it.
Sweet. All right, till then, take it easy, guys. We'll see you again next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5cardguys, or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards, or John at TradeU at Recess. You can also check us out at 5cardguys.com. Thanks again, and hope to connect soon.